While there are many people out in the country who don't really know who Keir Starmer is or what Keir Starmer stands for, the reality is that the Conservative Party, Rishi Sunak, is behind in the polls, rather like John Major was in 1997, Gordon Brown in 2010, and waiting is not going to change their fortunes. It doesn't really matter what sort of policies Keir Starmer produces. He is going to win. James Callaghan could have gone to the country in 1978, but he dithered and paused and ended up in the winter of discontent, making it much worse, culminating in a lost confidence vote in Parliament and an election defeat in the spring and Mrs. Thatcher's victory. And John Major called the election in 1992 on March the 11th, the day after the budget, 3 months earlier than he needed to. He won a victory which surprised people. But he didn't win a victory by delaying. He won a victory by going a little bit sooner. And that may well be why the Labour Party is preparing for a spring election, but recognising that the election probably won't be until the late autumn. We seem to be in a cycle where we've got late autumn elections, and the last election, of course, brought in this tidal wave of support for Boris, this huge majority, which was then squandered by stupidity and ideology. So the question really is whether Sunak will opt to be Major in 1992 or Major in 1997. And I think the chances are that he will go for Major in 1997. He will lose dramatically, and it will get gradually worse over the year. Rishi Sunak is not someone to take chances, and Macmillan resigned in 1963 and was succeeded by Alec Douglas Hume. And Labour bounced in 1964. And it was after 13 years of Conservative rule. The Conservatives looked tired. They looked leaderless. And they lost narrowly, with Harold Wilson picking up just a majority of 4. And I think that is probably the best parallel for the coming election, that Labour will win, but by a very small majority, not because it lacks popular support, but because of the electoral system that we've got. In order for Labour to win this time, they would need to win the most enormous number of seats. They would they would have to win 123 seats simply to have a majority of 1, and that would make the number of seats that they needed to get a sizable majority bigger than anything that we have seen in recent electoral history. Now, if the SNP collapses, then Labour would have a pretty certain chance of picking up those seats in Scotland. That would give it 30 or 40 seats immediately, and that would be that would put it in a position of incredible strength. And equally, if Richard Tice's party, which is often in the news called Farage's party, that must make Mr. Tice seem so important. If Farage's party picks up a lot of Conservative votes, then that again will help Labour get over that edge. But I don't see that Labour is going to end up with a large majority in the next Parliament. But I'm pretty certain it's going to it's going to succeed. And then what will it do to try and hold on? Um, I think it's going to. I think it's going to pursue some uh, significantly bold policies to try and um, stabilize itself and set out its ground. Just as Labour in 1964 abolished the grammar school system, and despite the fact that Wilson, like Starmer, attended a grammar school. Grammar schools, I've always thought grammar schools are by far the most superior form of British education. They're so much better than the public schools in terms of the quality of education, the quality of academic education that they provide. And I was always astonished by the preparation that students had already been given by the time they got to university if they had been to a grammar school, in contrast to the preparation that students got if they'd been to a public school or if they'd been to a comprehensive school. The public school students, of course, had a lot of confidence. The comprehensive school students had a lot of swagger, a lot to be said for both, but the grammar school students always knew how to write an essay, knew how to get the work done, knew how to manage their time. And that was not something which, in my experience, was ever properly taught in any of the other schools. Now, if the Labour Party want to take that up, then that would be very interesting. But I'm afraid getting rid of the few grammar schools that we've got would further jeopardise our education system. What we actually need is, rather than destroying things, is bringing up the best that we possibly can get and promoting the best. And getting rid of things doesn't necessarily promote the best. The same thing is true of the NHS promoting the best that we've got, rather than bringing everything everything to a lowest common denominator, levelling down rather than levelling up. So Rishi Sunak, I think, has got a lot of thinking to do in the next few weeks because the decisions will be taken now, and Starmer has a lot of anticipating to do because he won't be told. He won't be told. He just needs to be prepared.